Let's get into a topic that is so problematic for so many people that I've taught over the years. But if you can get it right at the beginning, it's really going to make your journey with English so much easier. Let's practice in, on, at, the three most problematic prepositions in the English language. Let's go.
If you are a beginner level student, please turn on the subtitles in the language of your choice.
First of all, when we talk about the prepositions in, on, at, they are prepositions of both place and time. So we can use them for talking about the location of something and also when we're referring to time. When we're talking about time, the way we would use the preposition in is for these four reasons, beginning with months, seasons, years, and periods of the day. First up, months. If we're talking about a day somewhere in a month, we can use the preposition in. So for example, I could say my birthday is in April. However, if I was to add the date to this sentence, I would actually also need to change the preposition to on. So for example, I could say my birthday is on the 27th of April. So when you're thinking of in as a preposition of time, try to think of it as in something. So the example I just gave you, my birthday is the 27th of April. The 27th is one day in a month, so it is in the month of April. Next, we also use in for talking about seasons. So for example, in the summer, I love to go to the beach. In the winter, I hate leaving the house. I don't like the cold weather. So in for all the seasons, spring, winter, autumn, summer. Next, we use in for years. If you imagine that we're talking about at some point in the year, I moved to Colombia in 2012. So I'm not being really specific here. I'm not saying the exact date, but at some time in that year, I moved to Colombia. So that's why I'm using in, because it's in a year. She was born in 1996. Also, we use preposition in for periods of the day. For example, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, but be careful with the one exception, which is at night. We do not say in night. So in a sentence, in the morning, I wake up at 7 a.m., I have a shower, I get ready, I go to work. In the afternoon, I finish work around 5 p.m. In the evening, I have dinner around 7, and at night, I like to watch movies. In general, we use the word evening to talk about the early part of the evening, more or less after 6 p.m. to around 8, 9, 10 p.m. And then we would refer to the late evening generally as night. Now let's look at the preposition in when we use it as a preposition of place. For example, I live in Medellin, in Colombia. So I'm in that city. I'm in that country. Again, it kind of indicates that I'm inside something. I can also use it for rooms and places. For example, I am teaching this class in my living room in my apartment. Many of my students in the past have told me that they get confused with in and at, and there's a good reason for that, because sometimes we can use either one. Let me give you an example. If you were to call me and say, Ben, where are you? I might say, oh, I'm at the shopping center, or the shopping mall, if you prefer to call it that. Now, you are not at the shopping center too, so you don't really need to know exactly where I am. So I'm giving you the general area. I'm at the shopping center. But that could mean that I have entered the shopping center, or maybe not. Maybe I'm standing near the entrance. Maybe I'm parking my car. I'm somewhere on the property. I'm in the general area. However, if you are also at the shopping center and you call me and say, Ben, where are you? I'm looking for you. I would respond with something a bit more specific. If I am inside, I would say, I am in the shopping center on level 1, on level 2. I would give a bit more detail. But in shows that I have entered. I'm inside the building. We also use the preposition in for closed spaces. For example, in the car. I am in my living room. I am in my bedroom. I am in my car, in a space that is closed. Next up, let's look at the preposition on, and we use on for dates and days. Nice and easy. For example, on Mondays, I go to the office. Christmas is on the 25th of December. Notice that for days and dates, we use preposition on. So all days of the week, as well as special events, public holidays, we use on. So on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, on the weekend. And remember when we add a date. For example, my birthday is on the 27th of April. New Year's Day is on January 1st. Easy, yeah? Now remember, on is also used as a preposition of place for location. So for example, I am on the bus, I am on a plane, I'm on a train, I'm on my motorbike, I'm on my bicycle. However, be careful with some vehicles because generally we use on for large vehicles such as public transport. And remember this rule, if you can stand on the vehicle, you are on it. For example, I'm on the train, on the plane, on the bus, on the boat. However, not for a car or a taxi or a small vehicle. I'm in the car, I'm in the taxi, because I cannot stand up in those vehicles. It's a good little way to remember it. And we also use on for surfaces. For example, my clock is on the wall. I have a painting on the wall too. My phone is on the table. My TV is on the TV cabinet. Now, some more confusion that some students have is when to use in and on when you're talking about media and electronic devices. For example, I've had some students ask me, do I say in or do I say on when I'm talking about a website or talking about Instagram or Facebook? And what about if it's a newspaper or a book? Try to remember this. If it is electronic, we use on, for example, on the website, on the platform, on the web page, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. However, if we're talking about what we call traditional media, for example, something that is printed, we would use in. So in the book, in the magazine, in the newspaper. Easy, yeah? Answer this question. How are you watching me today? In YouTube or on YouTube? How do you read the news every day? In a newspaper? Not many people do that anymore. On a website? On Facebook? Answer below in the comments, I'd love to hear. Where do you spend most of your time? On Facebook? On Instagram? Let me know in the comments. Finally, let's look at the preposition at. Firstly, as a preposition of time, and then as a preposition of place. As a preposition of time, we use at for hours. For example, I wake up at 7 o'clock. I usually go to bed at 10:30 or 11 p.m. I have lunch at noon, at midday. And as a preposition of place, we use at when we're talking about the general area. Remember, we mentioned this earlier, when you're talking about the general area or also for events. So for example, I am at the shopping center, I'm in the supermarket, to be more specific within, I am at work, I'm at the school, I'm at the university. It shows that I'm in the general area. I can also use it for events such as I'm at a birthday party, I'm at a wedding. I hope that clears up some doubts you have, but if you do have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Just leave me a comment below and I'll do my best to respond to you as soon as I can. If you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you do and hit the little bell button so that way you'll be notified every time I publish a new video. I really recommend that you check the video description box below the video and the pinned comments, because sometimes I add links to little exercises and activities that you can do to practice the grammar from these classes. See you in the next video.
Here's a summary of all the uses for the prepositions in, on, and at. Feel free to take a screenshot or a photo of this information and keep it for future reference.